Hey there, it's Kat and this is BrewsandReviews. So as you may know, I am a major David Gemmell fan. I talk about it often enough, but if you're new here, hi, I am a major fan of David Gemmell. So I set myself a project to read and review all of his works because I don't have reviews for them on my channel and I want them. So here we are. So in today's video I'm going to be reviewing Knights of Dark Renown. So before I go into the plot of this book, I just want to sort of say where I think that it stands amongst Gemmell's other books, because there is some debate on whether this book is a standalone or if it is part of the Draenei Saga. So I personally view this book as a standalone because I read it as a standalone, but I do understand how it could be part of the Draenei Saga, and I believe maybe David Gemmell himself said that this was in the Draenei world, but just centuries before other things happened, so I don't know. I'm going to be reviewing this as a standalone because it is so far removed from the others, but I know that some people view this as part of the Draenei Saga. So there's that. This book is set in the Nine Duchies, a kingdom that was protected by the legendary Knights of Gabala. All but one of these knights ventured through a portal and were never seen again. With evil magic rising in the Nine Duchies, there is no one left to protect the people, unless Manannán can venture through the portal to try and find his companions and bring them home. There are also a number of other characters who go on various journeys throughout this book, which I'll talk a bit more about in a bit, and sort of find themselves unlikely heroes rising to the occasion to try and defend their people and their lands. So that is the main summary of this story. So I first read this book over 2 years ago. I think I actually vlogged my reaction to having just finished it. So I've given myself a little bit of time to not be crying everywhere, because the end I think is very poignant. He has this way of writing a very short epilogue that can destroy your soul, but in the best way. So on to the structure of the book. I think this is quite fascinating. Having reread this with the intent to review, I was looking at things a little bit more closely, and I think the structure of this book mimics its themes perfectly, and I was really impressed by how that worked. So the beginning of this book is full of this heavy atmosphere and a sense of hopelessness. Nobody is having a good time. Everybody that you encounter, all of the different perspectives, it's all going terribly for them. The king is basically causing a genocide among the nomad population in his kingdom. One of the main characters starts this book as a slave who is about to be sold to a not very nice person. Another guy is just on really bad terms with the seer, who is determined to do everything that he can to be a dick. Another is Manannán, who was the knight of the Gabala who decided not to go through the portal and is basically being choked to death by his beard because he can't take off his helmet. It's just a general bad time. And there are a bunch of other characters that are involved as well, who you encounter slightly later on in the book. My point here is that Gemmell beautifully weaves this atmosphere of desolation and no hope, and this building evil is really permeating every character's life and all of their actions, and it feels like there is a sense of hopelessness and there's nothing that they can do about it. The middle of this book moves into a section about growth, and the growth of hope specifically. The heavy atmosphere lessens as characters start to think about other people, not themselves, basically. When they are focused on their own situations, it's all darkness and desolation, but when they start believing in some other things, the situation starts to feel less hopeless and they start working together to do things. I'm trying to be quite vague in order to not spoil things, but I mean, let me know if you'd rather I do spoiler reviews for these in the future. Now, when I'm discussing the end of this book, I'm not going to mention specifics that happen, but I will just say that it is not a happy ending for everyone. There is a complete mixed bag in terms of happiness and sadness in this book, and I think that that perfectly mirrors the themes that Gemmell is trying to display. I think throughout, with the creation of certain characters like Groundsel and the Duke and even the Red Knights to an extent, nobody is truly evil and nobody is truly good. It's more about the potential that is inside a person and what they choose to do with that, because you can choose to be good or you can choose to be evil. And I think that shows that there is value in everyone. So there might be a character in which you think, oh, what a dick. This man is a rapist, he is a murderer, he is an evil guy. And then he chooses to do a bunch of good things. It doesn't make him not a rapist or a murderer, it just means that he has chosen to do some good as well. So it is this complexity that I find really fascinating, because it also mirrors the magic that is used in this book, which is colour magic. Now each different colour has a different meaning, so I think black is earth, I think the green is healing and things like that, and the red is sort of anger and bad magic that's been growing. Now I think it's really interesting because part of the discussion that the characters have in here is that you can't get rid of the red magic. You need the red magic, because if you got rid of the red magic, then the world wouldn't be in balance. And just like with the characters, this book is all about balance. It's that all life is magic, and all magic needs to be in harmony. So life needs to be in harmony. So there should be good and evil to an extent. But if there is going to be evil, then there needs to be good to match it. So I think it's a really interesting exploration of how not everything is good and not everything is evil, but they are both relevant to the world. And I think overall this book gives me really bittersweet feelings, but in a good way. Like, I'm happy that this book didn't leave me feeling like, oh, good has triumphed, because that kind of defeats the purpose of balance and harmony that has been explored throughout this book. So I think this book was very cleverly written and I really enjoyed it. To go into some more specific plot points, I think the beginning of this book can be considered quite heavy, as I've said. And even the characters he's supposed to like do some things that are really questionable and are a little bit hard to like them at first, and then when they grow, you start to like them a lot more. So if you pick this book up and you're like, I don't like this character, why is he doing that? They grow. I really liked Manannan's storyline and what happens to him when he goes through the portal. It takes a paranormal turn, I'll say. There are also mysterious beasts from other worlds that appear, and I think that they're quite interesting. I so don't want to spoil it, because I was really surprised when I read it and I was like, wait, hang on a second, what's happening? But it was really good. So I don't want to say anything further because I do feel like I will start to spoil things. But if this does sound really interesting to you, then great, you should definitely pick it up. You definitely can read it as a standalone, so if you just want to try out Gemmell, this is a good one to start. But do be aware, it's quite heavy. There are trigger warnings for rape and suicide and self-harm, so do be aware of that before going into it. I found this book very enjoyable and I really liked the themes that were explored. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm really looking forward to reading my next book in this David Gemmell project. So if you've read this book, let me know what you thought about it in the comment below, or let me know if you're thinking about reading it after hearing this review. If there's anything else you want me to include in future videos while I'm reviewing these books, let me know in a comment below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!